Hi readers, welcome back to my channel, Lila Wanders and Reads. Lee here, and welcome to my weekend books. I read 4 books this week, and it started out fantastic. I had one we'll talk about, and then it ended in a happy place. Let's get started, shall we? The first book I read, I loved so much. I did not expect to, and I think I'm going to do a standalone review on this, so I'll just keep these comments to a minimum. And that is Coco Meller's Blue Sisters. I purchased this as part of a book of the month selection ages ago, and just finally got around to reading it because I had been on like a sisters kick. I read 3 books in a row. This was the 3rd about sisters. And like I said, I loved this so much. There were people who didn't like it, and they didn't like it, it seems, that for the reasons that I loved it. I love a complicated family. I love faulty main characters. And I love when someone just keeps fucking up and trying to get back up every time. And this is really about sisters. The first line is, "A sister is not a friend." True sisterhood is not the same as friendship. You don't choose each other. There's no furtive period of getting to know the other. You're part of each other right from the start. In Blue Sisters, the 3 Blue Sisters are separated by miles and miles. One's in LA, one's in London, one comes over to London, and the 4th sister is dead. And I don't know about you, but I've had an unexpected loss, and it can derail you. And all of the remaining sisters are derailed by this death. And this story, Blue Sisters, is about how they try and how they struggle to come to terms with the loss of their sister, and that things are never going to be the same again, but maybe they can still be okay. I'll quit fucking around with my pen right now. Anyway. Again, I'm going to do a longer review on this. I loved this. If you like books about fucked up people, in the best way, Blue Sisters is for you. Now, let's get to the one that I absolutely hated. I stumbled across this book last week in Barnes & Noble, and I thought, oh, this will be an interesting read. It should offer a unique perspective. And I'm talking about Ian Fritz's What the Taliban Told Me. If you follow along, you know that I spent quite a number of years in Afghanistan, far more time than Ian Fritz did, and I ended up not rating this book. I cannot recommend it. I can't believe it won a literary award. Do you know that guy that's always the smartest one in the room, won't listen to anybody else? That's this guy. The first part of the book, first of all, I was put off by his writing style, but I was willing to let that slide. The first part of the book is about his experiences in Afghanistan, and one that really stuck out to me, I can find it, is, I'll just gist it, whatever, just like he does. He's up flying on a plane, and the JTAC asks him he was like, what are these people's names? He's like, I don't know. And the JTAC says, I want to know everything. Stop gisting. I want to know the names. I want to know what they're saying, everything. And Ian is like, what does this guy think? I'm his personal interpreter? Yeah, buddy. Yes, absolutely. Because the JTAC had multiple tours in Afghanistan. He knew the names of the people that Ian was listening to. And then after the flight, another crew member tried to explain the intelligence value of what he was listening to and why it was important. And you could tell he didn't fucking get it. He was upset about having to do word-for-word translation. And he didn't get it. And that is crucial. it felt like thought he knew so much more than somebody who was experienced and seasoned in Afghanistan, and he just didn't get it. And that infuriated me. And colleagues will not understand why, because gisting is not going to get you the intel value that you need. Okay. The last probably quarter of the book is Ian yelling at the reader. Like, fuck you if you don't agree with me, or fuck you if I don't da 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 da. And let me see if I can find a part. I would get to something where I think, okay, maybe I agree with this point, but then he would go off on some fucking rant insulting the reader. So he gives, when talking about whatever, he says, when we are telling this story, no, motherfucker. And he's saying there's usually two responses. If you think the latter set of responses is preferred, then I want you to think before you speak, before you give me the chance to realize that you're a fucking idiot, the chance to want to make you permanently quiet. You'd be writing away. Motherfucker, I don't need you to yell at me during reading your dumbass book, because what the Taliban told him was nothing, because he couldn't fucking listen. Rant over. So I'm really enraged about that book. Just the arrogance of it, and I hate that guy. There's always that guy or girl who knows everything and you can't tell him anything, even though you may have way more experience in that country than he. So, speaking of hate, I didn't hate Hate Follow. This was a cute, light-ish read. So, Whitney Golden is, I forgot to tell you, dude was a linguist. I use that term loosely. And his job was to listen while he was flying in a plane. So, but in Hate Follow, Whitney Golden is an influencer. She's widowed and she's got 4 kids, one of whom's a teenager. And the teenager decides, I'm tired of being on your videos and being exploited. So she ends up suing her mother. And we'll see where it goes. Well, if you read it, you'll see where it goes from there. I found this, like I said, a really cute book. And it's clear from the start that even though Mia is suing Whitney for invasion of privacy and to get her privacy and for her younger siblings, she still loves her mother and she still wants to talk to her mother, and the mother loves her and wants to talk to her, but they just can't communicate effectively, which is kind of par for the course sometimes with 15-year-olds and their mothers. I know I couldn't communicate well with my mother. Overall, very satisfying book, really quick read, 3 stars. So I say that the weekend books ended in a happy place. This is Saturday. I am actually going out to get my next read later this afternoon. I purchased online to pick up in store, so I don't have enough books in this house already, but whatever. Happy Place by Emily Henry. I still think if we're going with the kind of more serious real life-ish romances, I still think Abby Jimenez is my current favorite, but this was a really good book. It was very cute. So Harriet and Wynn have been together since college. They broke up 5 months ago. Their friends don't know it, and they are going to spend a final week in this cabin that they always used to go to every summer. And Wynn and Harriet end up having to share a bedroom and try to fake it like they're still together for this week. Now, there is a point pretty early on where I thought, is something happening that they're not saying? Not Wynn and Harriet, but the group as a whole. And I was right, but it didn't affect my journey. I think that probably the first half was I was a little unsure of, but by the end, I really enjoyed it. because of the way the chapters are, it goes from, college to real life today, then to another era, and then real life today. So it's kind of like flashbacks throughout there. And it shows the journey of Harriet and Wynn's relationship. And I really, really enjoyed it. I will take a break from Emily Henry. Nothing wrong with her, but for a while. Glad I had it. Glad I finally read it. Okay. Next up, that's all I read. I am still on the nonfiction, working on the Women with Silver Wings, and I've just made zero progress with this book this week. It was a busy week at work, and then when I get home, I just want to read something nonfiction. Fiction. What am I talking about? Anywho, so if I don't make any more progress by midweek this week, I think I'm going to force myself to sit down and read a chapter or two a night before I get to my fiction, because I have to finish this by the end of the month. That's a self-imposed rule. On the audio, I have about 3 hours and 9 minutes left on the Radium Girls, The Dark Story of America's Shining Women by Kate Moore. I'm listening to this, like I said, and I have to tell you, it is brutal. This is kind of not a spoiler, but one of the victims of radium poisoning, early on, you find out that she goes to see the dentist because she's having all these problems, and he touches her jaw and it breaks. And that happens to more than one girl. And I've had to, it makes my mouth hurt. And I have had to shut it off a couple of times and listen to happy music because it's so brutal. I am enraged at what the company was allowed to get away with, and what my takeaway is that you cannot trust the corporation without oversight to do the right thing by their employees, because the radium corporations, there were different names, fought the girls at every chance and did not want to admit radium was poison, and did not want to compensate the women for their medical bills or for their suffering. So we have book club next weekend on this one, so I will finish before then. I'm really looking forward to the discussion on this and see what the other women got out of it. And that is it for me. If you've made it this far, I'd love to hear from you down in the comments. Have you read any of these books, and what are your thoughts? And do you have anything you'd highly recommend for me to read? I think I know what I'm reading next, but I don't have a copy with me here, and it is what it is. Anywho, tomorrow I'm gonna try a book tag video. I'm not sure if that's the right word for it, and I hope I don't offend anybody, because this is my second time doing something like that, and I'm not quite sure of the tagging etiquette. And then Wednesday, like I mentioned, I am going to do a standalone review for Blue Sisters. Broke my heart. I cried at the end, but it was very satisfying to me. Anywho, that is it for me. As always, if you've stuck with me this far, thank you for coming with me on my journey, and happy reading.